I want the American people to understand who their masters are, okay? Who they are slaves to. That ugly gentleman that you see right next to me, that's your master. That's the guy who actually governs the country. That's Ben-Gvir, a literal terrorist in Israel, who gets to dictate what our war aims happen to be. In fact, here he is explaining, take a look.
שהוא הדבר האמיתי, זה חיי האדם. הסכם רע למדינת ישראל יכול לפגוע בחיי האדם. אני יודע שראש הממשלה נתניהו וכולנו, כחברי קבינט, גם קבינט מצומצם, גם קבינט רחב, גם כממשלת ישראל, לא ניתן לדבר הזה לקרות. אבל זה הסכם רע, זה הסכם שיכול לפגוע במדינת ישראל, ואנחנו לא ניתן לדבר הזה לקרות. זה לא יקרה.
So when the Israelis were in absolute fear that there might be a peace deal between the United States and Iran. I mean, can you imagine the scariest thing in the world?
What if we stop the endless war?
Oh my gosh, that means less innocent people are gonna be slaughtered?
And Israel takes less land? Yeah. No.
So let me read what he said to our audio listeners in case you missed the subtitles there. So again, that was Ben-Gvir. Here's what he said. First of all, there is something called the real thing, which is human life, something that Ben-Gvir, of course, has absolutely no respect for. A bad agreement for the state of Israel can harm human life. I know that Prime Minister Netanyahu and all of us members of the cabinet, both a small cabinet and a large cabinet, as the government of Israel cannot allow this to happen, but this is a bad agreement. This is an agreement that can harm the state of Israel, and we will not allow this to happen. But then they'll turn around and call us anti-Semites for saying that Israel controls our government. But how are you gonna deny it when members of the Israeli government say that they control our government?
And by the way, the facts on the ground matter the most. So if he said they control our government, but he's Baghdad Bob, and we already made a peace deal with Iran, we've already left and pulled out our aircraft carriers, then he's ridiculous. And of course we don't control the government. Then all the propagandists here, otherwise known as reporters, can then fairly say, oh, this is just a minor part of the Israeli government. You guys are overblowing it. Now that's what they say about Ben-Gvir every time, even though he's one of the top 3 officials in Israel and definitely sets policy. And if his faction leaves, Netanyahu wouldn't have a government. That's been true for years. So that gives Ben-Gvir and Smotrich complete power. That our reporters actively lie to you to pay so that you don't find out what kind of genocidal freaks run Israel and how much they're in control. But then on top of that, so what actually happened on the ground? Well, Israel said they would not allow this agreement to happen, and it didn't happen. And we went back into war. Israel bombed Lebanon, we bombed Iran. Israel got exactly what they wanted. They said, who the hell do you think you are? You think you run your own country? No, it is not good for Israel, so we will ban America from doing it. Now, when we report that, our reporters in America will say, how dare you anti-Semites quote Israelis? You're not allowed to quote. It's like, you know what it reminds me of, Anna? It reminds me of that guy who was so ugly, the IDF soldier.
Which one? He wasn't even an IDF soldier. Wasn't he a settler in the West Bank?
Yeah.
The guy with the weird teeth,
etc. The Israeli government put out a statement saying, if you publish his picture, it's anti-Semitic.
I agree.
He's so ugly that it's anti-Semitic for you to print his accurate picture. And that's what they're in essence saying about Ben-Gvir and Smotrich's points of view. And by the way, Netanyahu agrees with them 100%, has never veered from what Ben-Gvir and Smotrich have said.
That's right.
In terms of actual policy that Israel executes, Netanyahu agrees 100% with Ben-Gvir and Smotrich. And our liars say, no. Their words and actions are too ugly to print. If we told you the truth about them, then we'd be considered anti-Semites. Okay, I mean, that's the strangest thing in the world. But you just saw it with your own eyes. They definitely control us.
I want to go to the very last graphic here because despite the hundreds of billions of dollars in damage that the US and Israel have carried out against Iranian infrastructure, despite the hundreds of little girls who were slaughtered at an elementary school in Manab, Iran, in the opening salvos of this war, Trump would like Iran to normalize Israel or normalize their relations or relationship with Israel. I'm gonna read what he said. The enriched uranium, which he stupidly calls nuclear dust because he's a moron, will either be immediately turned over to the United States to be brought home and destroyed, or preferably in conjunction and coordination with the Islamic Republic of Iran, destroyed in place or at another acceptable location, with the Atomic Energy Commission or its equivalent being witness to this process and event. And then he says this, go to graphic 14. In speaking to numerous of the great leaders mentioned above, he lists the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, and Jordan. He says they would be honored as soon as our document is signed to have the Islamic Republic of Iran as part of the Abraham Accords. Wow, now that would be something special. No, it wouldn't.
Okay.
You wanna know why Saudi Arabia, for instance, even though the leadership of Saudi Arabia total butt buddies with Israel. The reason why they haven't formally signed on to the Abraham Accords is because the people of Saudi Arabia loathe Israel. The people of Bahrain, Jordan, Syria, all over the Middle East loathe Israel. Just because you've installed puppet regimes, just because you've done dirty, corrupt deals with the leadership of these countries, doesn't mean that the people of these countries like the Israelis, because the Israelis have butchered them, slaughtered them, destroyed their countries, destabilized their countries, overthrown democratically elected leaders in conjunction with the United States. So yeah, like as much as they want to force this onto the people of the Middle Eastern countries that would be part of the Abraham Accords, they're not buying it. Because unlike here in the United States, where unfortunately there is a significant portion of this country that has been fooled by the pro-Israel propaganda, in the Middle East, everyone knows exactly what Israel is. It's a genocidal, colonialist state that seeks to continue expanding their borders.
Yeah, so that's obvious, it's on the map. The only people who are so blindingly stupid that they can't figure it out is American reporters. That's what they claim.
They're not stupid, Jake.
Of course, no, I'm making fun of them.
They're lying.
So that they come out and go, no, we're not stupid, we work for Israel. Okay, that's what I thought, okay? So why don't you just admit it? So this is they're so over the top. So in fact, let me tell you real quick, after the Netanyahu call with Donald Trump over the weekend, we go back into war, and not only did we do bombing of Iran and they did bombing of Lebanon, but Trump has 3 new things that are part of the deal after the call, and I refer to 2 of them. Let me break them down as quickly as I can. Abraham Accords, what our lying media never tells you is, in order to sign the Abraham Accords, you have to say that you're gonna normalize relations with Israel without Israel ending the occupation of the Palestinians. So Abraham Accords is not a peace deal. It's a deal to betray the Palestinians and give economic benefits to Israel. And only the leaders of countries like the UAE, Bahrain, and Sudan. So none of the people of their countries get any benefits. The Palestinians are totally betrayed. Only Israel gets the benefits. But here in America, you've never heard one cable news anchor tell you that. You've never seen it written in an article. They all say, oh, Abraham Accords, what a wonderful, beautiful piece of peace, right? So apparently Trump is calling for unity after another violent incident. And of course, depending on where you get your news, that story gets framed in completely different ways. On the right, the angle is that Trump is a uniquely powerful figure who keeps getting targeted because he's so effective. On the left, the focus is on something much more uncomfortable for them to deal with. Trump's long relationship with violent rhetoric and the political climate that he's helped to create. Now, you just saw how easy it is to look at one story and immediately compare 2 completely different narratives. And that is exactly why I recommend Ground News. It's a website and app that pulls together reporting from across the political spectrum so you can compare headlines side by side, see the bias distribution of the coverage, check the factuality ratings of the sources, and even see who owns the outlets behind the reporting. Because once you start looking at coverage that way, it becomes a lot easier to see when the media isn't informing you, it's managing your perception. Ground News also has a blind spot feed, which highlights stories that one side of the political spectrum is barely covering at all, so you're not trapped inside the version of events your media bubble wants you to accept. Go to ground.news/TYT or scan the QR code and get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. It's a great deal. Democrats who came out over the weekend, And Auchincloss is like, oh, Graham Plattner's a Nazi. Oh, he better not vote against Israel. And oh, this peace deal's terrible. I don't know why we're doing this. This is a so-called Democrat. And finally, he's like, oh, but the Abraham Accords are wonderful. I hope everybody joins them. Oh my God. Okay, so our media is all liars. They never told you what the Abraham Accords actually are. So if it's totally unrealistic, it's an impossible standard. Those countries, if they sign the Abraham Accords, some of them will literally have a revolt the next day within their countries, okay?
And the whole point is to throw the Palestinians under the bus.
Of course, and so again, they never report that, even though it is an empirical fact. Now, number two, enriched uranium. The new standard is we want all of the enriched uranium out on day one. But it's buried under the facilities we destroyed. It might take months to take it out. When you say I need it out on day one, you're saying the war is not going to end for months. Okay, totally impossible standard. And finally, number three is Israel says we need an exemption for the ceasefire and for the peace deal for us to continue to attack Lebanon. Well, that's Iran's ally, and Iran is saying no, the war ends for everyone. Israel is saying no, everyone else should stop, but we get to keep attacking, and we get to keep southern Lebanon, and we get to keep doing war. You just are not allowed to defend yourself anymore. Well, who would sign that peace deal? That's not a peace deal. That's unilateral surrender to one of the most evil nations on earth. Nobody's gonna sign that deal. Exactly. So that's why after the Netanyahu call, peace is totally eviscerated, just like Ben-Gvir told you. Ben-Gvir said, this is not good for Israel, so we will not allow it to happen. And they didn't allow it to happen. And golly gee, every mainstream media reporter missed it. Oh, how did we miss the giant news story about who's in charge of this and how the one country that wants war keeps getting war? Literally every other nation on earth, including the American people, including the Iranian people, the Lebanese, everyone wants peace. Every single nation on earth wants this war to be over, except one, Israel.
Then give them a reason to want to end it. That's it, that's the only way. Negotiating with the United States is laughable. Okay, the US isn't gonna do anything for you.
Yeah, Iran, you should negotiate with Israel, honestly. America's useless.
Don't even negotiate.
We're just a stumbling block, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right, you can't negotiate with Israel because all they want is war. All they want is more conquest than land. And as they're doing all this, again, American media is like, who's the one country who wants war? And the one country that gets its way every single time? We just can't figure it out. Golly gee, I wish we were reporters. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.